Let's settle for details now. Prices of petroleum products will, from Wednesday, March 16, experience a significant increase as consumers are expected to pay 11 cedis per litre. The bulk oil distributors has blamed the situation on the volatility on the market as well as the rising cost of crude on the international market. According to the Chief Executive, Senyor Hosi, depreciating cedi has been a major contributing factor to the fuel price hikes. In an interview on Joy FM's News Night Monday, Senyor Hosi said they are working closely with the central bank to mitigate the impact of the rising trend of the petroleum prices. Price of liquefied petroleum gas (LPG) is expected also to go up by 3%, whereas petrol and diesel would go up by 5% and 9% respectively. Currently, petrol and diesel are selling at an average of 8.2 per litre and so be prepared to pay up to 11 cedis per litre for fuel starting in the next 24 hours. And that is the warning from the bulk oil distributors who blame the situation on the volatility on the market. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has seen oil prices rise to its highest level in more than a decade and is on the verge of hitting new record, with crude prices predicted to reach as high as $185 a barrel. Chief Executive of the bulk oil distributor, Senyor Hosi, has been speaking to Evans Mensah.
With crude, but with products on a metric ton basis, you're actually breaking the 10, and likely breaking the 11 as well. Subject to which product and how the OMCs they want to pass some margins on their current prices. The BBC prices, like I said, they are just quite indicated. Also, for some breaking the 10, some are almost doing the same. And what you see from the OMC's publication is quite reflective of what the market situation is. And I think a big chunk of it has to do with some of the uncertainties around the freight situation and also our currency issues.
The National Petroleum Authority says, however, that the oil marketing companies are not adjusting their pump prices beyond the indicated prices provided to the authority. Mohammed Abdul Kudus is the communications manager for the NPA.
And so the OMCs and the fact that they are buying it through the BDCs are minded by the consequences of the future. And so you see the marginal review. And let me explain this. The review might be irregular, but it is not illegal.
Now, the atmosphere in Bawku remains tense, forcing residents indoors after one person was shot dead yesterday, Monday, March 14. It is not clear what may have sparked this latest violence, but JoyNews has learned that residents have fled to their various homes, leaving the streets empty. Security personnel have been deployed into the town to prevent an escalation of the situation. 4 persons are said to have been arrested by police. Now let's go to the community and speak to a resident for the latest on the ground. Paul joins me. Paul, good morning and thank you so much for your time. Paul, if you can hear me, how are you and how is Bawku this morning?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. Bawku is fine this morning. Yeah, I can hear you very well.
All right, so now before we delve into yesterday's...
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you, Paul. Now, before we delve into yesterday's incident, tell us about how Bawku was before yesterday's incident. Paul, if you can hear me.
Okay. Thank you very much, madam. I think for the past few days, peace was beginning to return to Bawku. It so happened that somehow things were calming down and businesses had started picking up again until the incident happened yesterday and then truncated the peace again.
Okay. Now, so can you tell us what exactly caused this incident? Yesterday's incident.
Okay. What actually caused this incident is that
Yes, Paul, you can go ahead and tell us what exactly caused yesterday's shooting. All right, it seems like we are having some internet troubles from Bawku, but let's do other stories now, because state prosecutors handling the Oliver Baka-Vomoa case at the district court on Tuesday failed to show up in court. Now, this left the circuit court judge hearing the matter as an additional magistrate, Eleanor Barnes-Bortre, infuriated. Now, she warned that she will not tolerate such a conduct. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the latest.
A member of the legal team for the youth activist, Dr. Justice Shremsai, urged the court to discharge the youth activist. He explained that the failure of the prosecutors to show up meant that they were not interested in pursuing this particular matter. The court, however, took the view that this was the first time they had failed to show up. It would be unfair to discharge the accused person, especially because just 24 hours prior, the team had showed up at the High Court where the bail application had been argued. She, however, pointed out that she would not countenance such a conduct, and also noted that even the documents necessary for the court to make a determination whether this is a case that merits being sent to the High Court for trial have also not been filed. She therefore warned some police prosecutors who were present to inform the police prosecutor handling this particular case that he needs to show seriousness, and that if at the next date this repeats itself again, the court will advise itself. And so the case was adjourned yet again, with a Fix the Country convener being remanded into police custody. The expectation of the court is that on March 29, when it returns, at least some good news will be received by way of the filing of the bill of indictment. For JoyNews from the Ashaman District Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
Let's go back to the Upper East region, where Paul in Bawku was telling us what actually triggered yesterday's shooting. So, Paul, if you can hear me, what triggered yesterday's incident? All right, so it seems like we have lost Paul there, but he was trying to explain what happened yesterday with the shooting that occurred and left one dead. We understand that, Paul, if you can tell me what triggered yesterday's shooting.
yeah, hello.
Yes, Paul.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Actually, what happened yesterday is that a certain man on a horseback went into a certain community. Now, what has been happening in the country is that all this while, the two feudal factions have maintained their positions at their own dominant areas. So, as of yesterday, one of the feudal factions, a certain man from one of the feudal factions, that's the Bawku zone, decided to ride a horseback into one of the communities. And the resident of that community said he came with a horse 3 times into that area as if he was spying for something. So they stopped him and then asked him who he was. And then he claimed he was Fulani. Meanwhile, he was wearing a mask all over.
Paul, I'm finding it difficult to hear you. Can you just repeat what you just said? That,
So,
they asked him who he was.
Yeah, they asked him who he was. Then he claimed he was a Fulani by tribe.
Okay.
Meanwhile, he was wearing a face mask all over. So they asked him to take off the face mask. And when he did, he refused to take off the face mask. So they had to threaten him. And that was when he took off the face mask. And then he was rather not a Fulani. So which means that all this while, the residents of that place that they have received intelligence that the people in town, that is the Bawku, settlers were trying to launch an attack on that area. So the man disguising himself confirmed their fears. And I think they found something, and that sparked the yesterday's system.
Oh, okay, I see. Now, after the incident, how is life and business activities in around the Bawku township?
Okay, so what happened is that, speaking from the youth point of view, what we have seen all this while is that the security could do better. Though the security is doing well, but we are expecting more from the security. There are certain measures that security can put in place to get the issues on the ground resolved, or maybe to get at least a relatively permanent peace in Bawku. But it's like some of those measures are being ignored. So even as I talk to you, there is serious tension in town. The place is looking so silent, but then no movements are going on as usual. And then you can tell that there's no peace in town at all.
Now, let's talk about business activities. Are shops open?
Shops are not open.
Shops are not open?
No.
All right, now talking about...
Where I am speaking from, it's a little bit from the outskirts of the town. So somehow some few people are around, and then some few shops are around, are open. But if you look at the main street, the main commercial street, up towards town, everything is quiet, no movement is going on.
And how are you personally affected by what's happening in the town?
In fact, I am not able to go to work. A lot of things, you cannot even get to buy things, no movement. I miss the motor curfew, because in Bawku here, our main means of transport is curfew. So it's the motorbike. And then the ban of motorbike is affecting us seriously. And then the evidence class at the moment, we are all tensed down and we are indoors.
So before I let you go, Paul, have you seen any security on the ground, or like police personnel on the ground?
Yes, some few policemen are visible on the ground. And yesterday, the security that were around were visible on the ground to maintain the peace. So somehow today I've seen about 2 police vans running up and down, and I think the visibility of the security is there.
All right, thank you very much. That is Paul Godsway, and he's a resident in Bawku, and he was giving us an account on what's been happening. We've been trying to reach the police for updates. As and when we get them, we will bring you that updates. Let's come back to Accra, where drinking bars are not just for the alcohol, but for the buzz and light moments. Well, economic hardship has taken jokes out of the drinking bars. Patrons rather share stories of hardship and survival. Some have made a switch to cheap local liquor in order to satisfy their drinking habits and balance their finances. Mamiesi Thompson with more in this edition of the Joy Living Standard series.
Some of the people who host me, when you pay there, I can say your names.
Beer is expensive, you see, so they cannot cope of drinking the beer.
Alote owns Fastway, a drinking spot in the heart of Adabraka. His business has been running smooth for the past 30 years, but lately his customers are sinking his business because they owe him and are not paying.
These are some of the people who host me. When you pay there, I can say your names. Say people who me. See, when they pay, and then I can't do it. It's a business.
To supplement his income, he has also become a lotto vendor. But even that, he says business is still hard.
I have a lot of friends who normally they come here to buy printing, but this time when they come 2 bottles, then they go away. Sometimes someone will come here, he can offer a drink for anybody who sees here. Like, oh, my friend, what do you want to take? But this time you can't find that one.
The situation is true for many people who enjoy themselves or have some form of recreational activity at the various drinking spots and bars. Anansoa does not drink, but he spends his time at Fastway for fun.
When people are drinking, when people are laughing, sharing jokes and all these things, I feel funny about that. The story has changed because we started in a very good boom, but now things have lagged behind. Why? Because beer is expensive, you see, so they cannot cope of drinking the beer. Something is being sold at 5 cedis. You bought it at 5 cedis at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you come back at 9:30 in the morning, and then being sold at 7 cedis.
While having this discussion, right opposite the spot is Ni Afutu, who requested to share his views about his living standard.
If you don't have at least 100 cedis to spend daily, just sleep. You can't even approach a woman, otherwise she will burden you with her needs. Liquor is so expensive you can't even buy.
The story rings true with this Liberian guy who came in as a refugee. 5 years ago, he could afford a bottle of Guinness and beer at this bar, but not anymore.
Sometimes when I decide couple, I take a little, to keep my body warm.
Consuming alcohol helps him numb the pain of losing his family. Although he is not a national, he sings the chorus of calling on government to ensure a better economy.
Everything is getting expensive. Everything, transportation. First this thing we buy 50 pesos, but now it's 80 pesos 1 cedi. Before I was going to drink Guinness, but now because no money, so I got to drink this one.
Bob recently lost his job as a mail porter. He is forced to take on a toilet cleaner job so he can cater for his wife and 2 children, whom he sent back to the village because Accra living is expensive.
Working in this economy is hard. I have 2 children and it's tough.
He comes here from time to time to drink and puff away cigarettes, hoping it would ease the burden on his mind.
I used to drink Guinness and have a freak, but now I have to opt for a cheaper liquor.
Aloti's prayer is for the economy to bounce back so that his customers will settle their bills and make merry once again.